Hi, everyone. So today I've got two guests with me. I've got Shawn Langa and Derrick Thalaivirsan, and they're here to talk to us about employers' organizations. So just a little bit of background and quick intro on the two of them. So Derrick is an HR expert. He runs a company that focuses on HR matters. And he also writes on a lot of HR related subjects. And some of it is like performance management, industrial relations, and some interesting stuff on the evolving social norms on the organizational microcosm. Shawn is a seasoned business accountant and tax practitioner. So he helps keep people away from SARS or out of trouble with SARS. And he specializes in accounting, tax, compliance, and risk assessments. He also does some financial planning and modeling. And he also runs some Toastmaster sessions. So welcome, guys, and thank you for being here. We're going to talk a little bit about employers' organizations, but like to kick off, I just want to ask, what is an employers' organization? So Derrick, won't you start us off on that question?
Sure. So an employers' organization is a collective, first of all. It's an organization, and it exists to defend the rights of employers. What it does is sort of like a trade union exists to defend the rights of employees. The employers' organization does that with respect to employers' rights, and that would include looking out for speaking on behalf of employers' interests. So, for instance, in bargaining councils, in sectoral determinations that occur regularly in this country, employers' organizations are there at the table speaking on behalf of the interests of employers on all aspects relating to employees.
Okay. Shawn, do you want to add anything to that explanation?
And for me, I think I want to also just add that it's also some sort of a community of common practice, or common interests where people have a similar goal towards who they are working with and who they're trying to assist and achieve. They're all working towards a common goal at the end of the day. So that's one of the other benefits that you get from an employer organization.
I like that. I think in today's world, it's really important to find like-minded people, to find groups where you actually know, like, and trust people, where you can get help where you need it. And you're not, necessarily Googling, because, sometimes you end up with a plethora of information and you don't know, which one actually matters. And at least in this instance, you've got people that have vetted, the processes, vetted service providers. They understand what best practices look like. So I like that explanation. And then Shawn, what do you think happens when people don't have employers' organizations? And just from both of you guys' experiences, but Shawn, you first.
I think for me, what happens most of the time is they get taken for a ride and you find yourself having to deal with employees that feel like they have certain rights, and you sometimes don't have any recourse, and you get taken advantage of, and then it becomes a lengthy process, as opposed to having somebody that's going to be there for you and walk the journey with you and guide you on the processes and save you time and money and a lot of headaches in the long run. So if you're not part of this kind of organization, you are literally going to have a lengthy journey, in terms of resolving some of these disputes. In some cases, we actually help you prevent these disputes and the processes. So, yeah.
Okay, thanks. And then Derrick, just from your side, I know you've got a range of probably stories to tell on what happens when people don't belong to an employer's organization. In the context of South Africa specifically, is there anything that you would like to add to that?
Well, yes, just to continue from where Shawn left off. An employees organization should be peopled ideally at the top by people that are a repository of information with regards to best practice and also legal practice. So understanding the law as it pertains to employees, with regards to rights and obligations that apply to both employers and employees. I can give you an example of something that I've just found out recently. It's about a CCMA matter with regards to, I think we will all know about what constitutes minimum wage. There's a certain rate that is set for various sectors within within industries. They're different rates. And the question was asked about what exactly is a minimum rate. And a minimum rate isn't only the amount, the hourly rate or the weekly wage that is included on your payslip. It can include, and it should include, for instance, where there are company contributions, 7.5%, let's say, towards Provident Fund. That is part of it. And so even though on the face of it, an employer might think, oh, okay, I'm going to get in trouble because that's what this case was about, from the Department of Employment and Labor, because I'm not paying at the threshold or above it. In fact, they may be paying at the correct rate, and they need that expertise, and that's what an employees organization provides, that defense, if you like, of their position.
Okay. So Derrick, while you're on that, tell us a little bit about the employees organization that you are currently involved with. As I understand, SAACBA. Tell me, what does SAACBA stand for, and what is it about?
Well, it stands for South African Allied Business Association, right? And what it does is it provides various services, not unlike many other employees organizations, to its members. So in order to become a member, first of all, you'd have to have employees, because we are there to defend the rights of employees with respect to the employees. So we provide various services, including, for instance, expertise. A phone call sometimes is all you need in order to resolve an issue that might be nagging at you, or something that a source of conflict within your organization between yourself and your employees. We give advice on things like that. When the organization is registered, that means the employer's organization, it's able to defend matters on behalf of its members at the CCMA or bargaining council, whatever it may be. And we provide various other services, like, for instance, training and development and other IR services. So yes, that's what we do.
Okay, great. Thanks. And before I move to Shawn, Derrick, what do you do for SAACBA?
So I'm the Secretary General. So what I do is provide, to a large extent, guidance to the organization from an overall level with respect to the services provided, making sure that the Constitution is adhered to, the overall management and maintenance of the organization.
Okay, thanks. And then Shawn, from your side, how do you contribute to SAACBA?
Well, my position is that of I believe, a treasurer, and essentially I am the financial officer within the organization, and I ensure that we adhere to the policies that are around the finances, as well as make sure that we do have proper reporting in place, and we do report accordingly, and make sure that the money is well spent, and I know that sometimes people feel like with these types of organizations that the money comes in, and then those that are at the top, they spend the money on themselves lavishly, and my role at the end of the day is to ensure that we actually do safeguard those that are members of this organization and their finances, and ensure that we meet all the policies that are in place,
Thanks.
So with regards to that, quickly, what Shawn is referring to is Section 100 of the Labor Relations Act, amongst a few other portions of it that relate to good standing within employers' organizations. We are required to comply in terms of the law with regards to accounting practices, and that's the role that he fulfills.
Thank you, Derrick. You see, that's why he is the SA, Secretary General.
Awesome. So, I as a people strategist and a facilitator, I kind of support employers' organizations, and there's a range of services that I deliver to them as an associate. And I know that those are the things that also sets different employers' organizations apart. It's the add-on, the additional benefits to what everybody else is doing. And I'd like to know from you guys, what is the difference with SAACBA? What's the thing that sets it apart? Why should people like choose this one as opposed to the others? And anyone can go first.
Well, if I may then,
Mhm.
I mean, you wouldn't need a policeman if you didn't have crime, right? Just by way of a silly analogy. And so what we provide by extension is not just that policeman, right? So we do police certain processes within organizations to make sure that there's compliance with regards to legislation and rules, whatever the company policies they might have in place. But beyond that, we're trying to remove the crime. So whereas most employers organizations provide services that are mostly reactive with regards to addressing the crime, whatever it may happen. I'm using crime loosely here. I'm not suggesting that employees commit crime. What we aim to do is provide a higher level of service, like you say, you're a people strategist, is to provide services with regards to best practice, related to best practice, to our member companies, so that we're not just putting out fires all the time, but rather what we are doing is building organizations, helping to build organizations that are able to operate at a level that doesn't require the putting out of fires, it doesn't start any fires. And I think that's where the value add is, because with our backgrounds in corporate HR and at strategic levels, we're able to impart, I think, mostly to small to medium organizations, a greater level of acumen, if you like, that relates to best practices within industries.
Okay.
And for me, just to add to that, I'm gonna go back to my community of practice where I started from. It's you putting in people that have a common interest towards the employer at that point. And one of the things that I always say, especially within compliance and risk assessment, is that people tend to wait after the fact, and by being part of this organization, you're almost sort of looking at a proactive measure. You are planning, to succeed as opposed to planning to fail, because by not planning, you're actually planning to fail, and by having a community of people that have a common goal, and Derrick actually alluded to this, that we mainly looking at small to medium-sized enterprises, and those are the forgotten entities or the entities that barely look at these types of organizations. The larger organizations are fortunate enough to have the expertise, and they're fortunate enough to be part of communities like this, but the smaller ones, they don't have that. And I think this is where we come in and actually start bridging the gap between the large and the small to medium-sized entities.
Thanks, Shawn. What comes to mind for me is that when you're a small business, fear and loneliness are two emotions that you've got to sort of get on and be able to manage. And those are things that builds your resilience. And I think for me, an organization like SAACBA, helps grow businesses. As Derrick mentioned, it builds organizations, and it grows the economy. And, it's something that is passionate to my heart. So I wish you both the best of luck. Thank you so much for sharing with me. And hopefully we'll have a little more conversations with you in the future as you guys grow out SAACBA, and please do share some of the events that you guys are having and things like that. And we'll happy to chat about it in future. So thank you from
Thank
me.
you.
Thank you, Melissa.